Welcome back, guys, or if you're new to my channel, this is Automotive Anonymous, and I'm currently driving a 2024 Subaru WRX, and it's in the famous World Rally blue color. This is actually one of the best performance sedans you can buy, especially when a base model starts at about $33,000. And so today I get to share a lot of this WRX with you guys. In fact, I actually just finished my regular review of the WRX, but because this is such a fun, all-wheel drive, turbo 4-cylinder car, I wanted to keep it just a little bit longer so I could take it out for more driving impressions, because at the end of my normal reviews, there's usually only 2 to 4 minutes of driving impressions, but I'll try to keep this one to maybe 8 to 10 minutes, so that if you are genuinely considering a WRX and you want to hear more about how it drives, how it handles, this might be the video for you. If you guys like the WRX, World Rally Blue, or functional hood scoops, don't forget to like this video. Thanks, guys. But right now, I'm handling a curve at about 38 miles per hour, and it feels like nothing. These have such a good suspension for what they are. They can do a full circle in about 36 feet, but they can also change direction really quickly. The steering ratio feels really well sorted out, and the 6-speed manual transmission does a good job too. It's pretty easy to use, it's easy to downshift. The vehicle's pretty forgiving, but it's not as aggressive of a shifter or mechanical as like a Miata or a BRZ. But compared to most everything else that comes with a manual these days, which is completely numb, this actually feels pretty good, pretty notchy, and just driving it around town, driving it normally, even in 4th gear right now cruising, it's relaxed, it's composed, and you're probably getting pretty close to the EPA rating, where this is rated for about 19 city, about 26 highway, and with a 16.6 gallon tank, you can use it like a functional car. It even has a 12.5 cubic foot trunk, so it really is, a functional car. It is a compact sport class vehicle, but it does a good job. The brakes, even under just baby pedaling it, they come to a complete stop. Under harder braking though, it also does a good job. But even just zipping around town, this is a really fun car, and it can do a lot of things well. It's the same engine as that Outback Wilderness right there. But when it's your turn to get back up to speed, it's easy to come off of the clutch. It's one of the easier manual cars I've driven that does have quite a bit of power to it. It's not super heavy. It's not as bad as the Focus RS, that's for dang sure. And I think this is a good car, maybe even to learn on. There's not nearly the rev hang that the last generation of WRX had. This generation, which this 2024 is a part of, came out in 2022, and I think Subaru has sorted it out pretty well. This feels a lot more refined than last year's review, and I got to borrow some 2023s. I've even driven and reviewed a lowered 2023, and although this is still kind of a bumpy, stiff suspension that you probably can feel right now, it's not bad. I think this feels like a good balance between feeling the road so that you can actually have more input, especially where the steering wheel, it's sharp, it's numb, it's not hydraulic steering anymore, it's all the power electric assisted stuff, but it still gives you good input. These Dunlop tires, they're not kicking up rocks like I've experienced on the other WRXs, which just make it really noisy. Feels like someone's blowing holes in your ship, just with all the rocks it hits the underbody with. But it feels like a really good balance, and today when it's about 67 degrees, I feel like I have really good traction. Of course, that probably is primarily due to the all-wheel drive system, because a 271 horsepower car and 258 torque is probably not going to break the tires loose. Even on the 0 to 60, I'll show you in just a little bit when we go out in the country and do that. It feels planted to the road, it feels really stiff, and it handles corners exceptionally well. Meanwhile, you'll notice things like this truck has to go around so slowly. The WRX feels like it's at home going through twisty bits and canyons, and obviously acceleration, but the straight line acceleration of this car is not, that's not its strong suit. But even, let's say, like a 2nd gear downshift, the engine's not huge, it's only 2.4 liters, so engine braking I don't feel like is very useful in this compared to engine braking like a 5-liter Coyote Mustang or an LS engine that actually has a lot of rotational mass. It just doesn't really slow me down a whole lot. But look at how slow this big truck is still moving. Meanwhile, in the current moment, I'm just idling down and I'm catching up to him, and I haven't had any concerns that I'm going around too quick. But I'm trying to get down to these rougher roads so that I can tell you even more about how the suspension feels. And so far, I'm having a really good time in this WRX. These are known for being rally cars. They didn't come to the US until 2002, although they were first put out in European countries, Australia and New Zealand, back in 1992. So it took us 10 years to get one of these. And back in high school, I actually had a really good friend who would always borrow and drive his dad's '04 WRX. And that was a fun experience. But compared to the first generation in the US that was built off of the Impreza, this is a much more refined, much more impressive version of the WRX. Or even now going uphill, climbing out of the canyons and having ridden down a few rougher roads, this really feels well sorted out. Although I do think if I was gonna frequently take it off of the street, I'd probably want a tire that I have a little bit more confidence in, just a higher level than performance factory tire for going off-roading and going against some rough rocks. As you guys can tell on the side of the road, there's a lot of stuff that I probably don't want to drive over, but on the road, it feels really good. It climbs up easily, and I'm sure going uphill right now, I'm not getting the EPA MPG ratings, but I'm having a lot of fun in this WRX. A lot more fun than I would be in that Volvo sedan, that's for dang sure. And for 33 grand starting out, I mean, these really aren't that expensive when the average new car is $48,000. Heck, for $48,000, that would be a fully loaded GT WRX, because we no longer can get the STI. The best version of that for 2024 is the TR that's new for this year. But even that, you know, you're gonna be spending over 40 grand for that. It's gonna have the same power level as this, and you're not gonna have the boxer rumble like you used to have with the unequal length header. Some people do actually tune these for that, but even just driving up this canyon, this is seriously such a good driving, well-handling car. And it's Subaru, so it's a top safety pick. It's safe, it has a lot of factory features, and in fact, the main options that this one has are just the auto-dimming mirrors, the compass, the mirrors, things like that. But going up an even steeper grade, where I'm about a mile above sea level today, this really has a lot of power, and it puts it down well with the all-wheel drive system and the 6-speed manual. You can get this with the CVT, although unless your left leg doesn't work and you can't drive a manual, I don't know why you would if you have the choice, because the 6-speed manual is seriously just such a good time, so fun in this vehicle. I even stopped on a pretty steep incline, so let's see if it auto holds the brake. Yep, and it does, so it's actually pretty easy to get moving again, which is a nice tuning feature. I want to go down this steep decline one more time just to show you the engine braking again in second gear. We're definitely gaining some speed, but overall the engine sounds pretty good. It does make a little bit of noise when you rev it out, just because this could use a slightly better exhaust system. But overall, it's pretty good, and because we are turboed, even changing elevation in the moment like this vehicle is currently at about, a mile above sea level. So elevation changes are where turbo engines especially do really well, and it still feels pretty punchy. You're gonna see in just a minute how this does 0 to 60. And although it's not gonna be the textbook rating, because we are a mile above sea level and I'm not on a sticky drag strip, at least my private road is not yet a sticky drag strip, it still is going to be a really fun demonstration to show you guys what this can do. 0 to 60 in the 2024 Subaru WRX Base model. Traction is off, track mode is on. I will do a light launch, but my private road is not a sticky drag strip, and we are almost a mile above sea level. So even though this vehicle is turboed, it's still going to be down on power, probably at least 7 or 8%. Let's go. True 0 to 60 came in at 6.52 seconds. So while a mid 6-second time, 0 to 60, true time is not the textbook rating of maybe 5.4, without rollout counted. It is what it is. These just don't run like that unless you're going to be extremely abusive and do like a red line dump clutch. That's not going to last on a WRX. They're not made for abuse. They're made to be taken care of, to follow their maintenance, and to treat them with just a little bit of respect. They're not as forgiving as some other bigger displacement V8 and performance vehicles are. At least that's been my experience as a Subaru owner and everything I've seen and read on the forums. But as a daily driver, you know, with good visibility, doing everything reasonably well, having a payload capacity of 850 pounds, a back seat that full-size adults can sit in, a 12.5 cubic foot trunk, and 5.5 inches of ground clearance. Overall, this is the package for $33,000, this base model, which again, you can see way more details and objectiveness on my full review of it. It's a good vehicle. In whatever trim level you drive, even if it's the CVT, I think you're gonna have a good time. But the acceleration of this truly is not any faster than what my Outback Turbo or other Outback Turbos I've tested consistently run. It's the same engine. They all have an aggressive final drive ratio. They all weigh a similar amount of weight, but when you're manually shifting, the days of being faster than the automatics and the CVTs are unfortunately over, long gone. But does that mean you should not consider buying one of these? No, absolutely do. Be one of the statistics that help this car survive, hopefully for another 20 years. And with that said, if you guys like my video, please consider liking my video. If you want to buy this one, I'll link it below. But otherwise, comment your thoughts and opinions, what you like, what you don't like, your WRX experiences, and what you want to see more of on the next one. And until then, I wish you guys the best. I hope you take care. See ya.